Today I'm facing my fears of the most evil vegetable on the planet. You see, I just got a book by Becky Selengut called Misunderstood Vegetables. You might be surprised, but this is the first book on vegetables I have bought in my life. Vegetables are not that hard. If I have one in a restaurant and I like it, I can go home and recreate it. But I've never had a radicchio that I liked. Underneath all its prettiness, it is mercilessly bitter. Will Becky change my mind? Let's find out. Before we get to radicchio, we need to talk about Becky. I knew very little about her until a few weeks ago. All I knew was that she was a chef in Seattle that I followed on Instagram. How did I go from knowing almost nothing to feeling like I found my culinary soulmate? It was one of my viewers, Nathan. He told me about Becky's book called How to Taste. I'm not big on cookbooks, but that's the kind of book I am on the lookout for because it can help my students become better cooks. Very few recipe books do that. So I got How to Taste out of the library and stayed up till midnight because I couldn't put it down. It was so insightful, funny, and practical. For viewers of my channel, it should come as no surprise that this ambiguous term we call flavor is the sum of smell and taste. We can smell thousands of things, but we can taste only 5: salt, sweet, sour, bitter, and umami. The problem is that it's a lot easier to understand this concept intellectually than to use it in real life. Does your dish need more salt, more acidity, more sweetness? Which one should you adjust first? Every one of these tastes affects how you perceive the others. So you're dealing with an endlessly moving target. I have never seen an instructor teach this difficult subject as well as Becky does in her book. Instead of just talking about it theoretically, she gives you tasting exercises to do and walks you through every decision. It's the closest you'll get to being inside the head of a talented chef. Becky also explains the physiology of taste in a uniquely quirky way. If you have family feuds over how salty or spicy food should be, or if you are dealing with picky eaters who can't stand certain vegetables, this book will help you understand each other's preferences and learn how to cook and eat together in harmony. So I almost cried when I found out that How to Taste is out of print. How could this happen to a book this good? My best guess is its lack of pictures. Cookbooks are porn you can watch in front of your kids. If you want to drool and emote, this book is not for you. But if you want to laugh and learn, this book is a treasure. If you don't mind an electronic copy, Amazon has it for Kindle, and if you want a paper copy, try your library. And now, as John Oliver says, on to our main topic tonight. Becky's books are like potato chips. You can't have just one. So I started looking for other titles by her and learned that she recently finished a book on vegetables. The goal of this book is to help you fall in love with difficult vegetables. Since I already love beets, fennel, turnips, eggplants, and sunchokes, I decided to go right to the root of my vegetable woes, the dreaded radicchio. I can't stand radicchio's bitterness, so let's see what Becky's gonna do with it. I rarely follow recipes to a T, but this time I did. I didn't want my hatred of radicchio to be blamed on my inability to follow directions. I made the walnut mint pesto, browned radicchio in olive oil, deglazed with balsamic vinegar, added brown sugar, and seasoned it generously with salt. Conceptually, it made sense. Radicchio is insanely bitter, and Becky was trying to mask that with salt, sweetness, and acidity. Here is why I was skeptical as I was cooking it. Even if this dish were edible to me, wouldn't it be better with red cabbage or any other vegetable that's not as vicious? When I tasted my creation, it took me completely by surprise. Turns out, Radicchio is not a bad version of red cabbage. It has an incredible texture, all its own, much more supple and elegant than cabbage. And it has an interesting aroma as well, kind of like a savory raspberry. Now that the bitterness was tolerable, I was able to notice all these nuances. Just browning Radicchio is not enough. It needs every single element Becky put into it. It needs the dairy richness of ricotta and the sweetness of honey and brown sugar. 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar seemed like a lot, but it turned out just right. Mint walnut pesto was a surprising addition to me. Mint and walnuts are both slightly bitter, but they give this dish complexity. It's a combination of 3 slightly bitter elements. One is nutty, one is herby, and one is fruity that makes this dish so fascinating. I gobbled up the toast and then assembled the whole dish again without bread so that I could taste all the elements with no distraction. Still fabulous. Before I knew it, I ate the entire head of Radicchio all by myself. I have a challenge for my viewers. I'll post a list of vegetables that Becky covers in her book in the description below this video. If you see one you don't like, get Becky's book and try her recipe. Then tell me about your adventure. You can write me a comment below, and you can also tag Becky and me on Instagram. Here are more misunderstood vegetables, and if you are ever in the Seattle area, maybe you should see Becky in one of her classes.